The key point I want to emphasize about community issues is that they seem to call out for a collective decision. Now, you might just say, well, wait a minute, why not just let everyone behave as they choose? Well, the difficulty there, right, is that there's some cases in which not making a decision seems to be a decision in itself. For example, the question of whether, suppose you're facing the question of whether or not to have a noisy neighborhood or a quiet neighborhood. In most cases, to say we're not going to make a decision is effectively deciding we're going to have a noisy neighborhood. If we're going to say, let everyone decide for themselves how much noise they're going to produce, well, that means that if anyone wants to play loud music late at night, then no one else can have quiet after 10 p.m. Right? You might get it sometimes, but it's haphazard. All it takes is a couple noisy people, and nobody gets to have a quiet neighborhood. We can say the same thing about decisions about whether or not to preserve a certain amount of wilderness in a region, or whether or not to preserve the scenery. Right? All it takes is a few people renting out their land for billboards, right, or building very ostentatious houses, and you no longer have a certain sort of scenery. Right? And all it takes, private land ownerships under preference or land or economic pressure, right, could tear down a lot of the wilderness, and suddenly you have a community with very little wilderness left. Okay? So there seem to be a lot of cases in which to say, well, we just let everyone do what they personally choose is to duck the issue. Right? Now, one way I sometimes phrase this is to say we're not going to make a decision is to have already made a decision. Right? I think a more precise way to put this is to say we will not make a collective decision is to have decided, right, that our method for determining the outcome will be let everyone make their individual decisions and just accept the outcome of those collective decisions. Right? But to have done that, right, to have said the way we're going to deal with this issue is by letting everyone do what they choose and let the chips fall where they may, is to have made a decision.